Speaking of Horses is made possible through the support and courtesy of Chaff Hay. Chaff Hay is truly pasture in a bag. Without beneficial bacteria and enzymes in the digestive tract, horses and livestock neither have good digestion nor absorption of any nutrients that occur. Chaff Hay creates all of this for you with its yeast culture and pasture in a bag. Thank you to Chaff Hay. And speaking of horses. Speaking of Horses is also made possible through the courtesy of equine technologies. For all of your hoof treatment, hoof care, and hoof-related infectious problems, please contact Equine Technologies. Well, welcome again to Speaking of Horses, and right now we are at the Minnesota School of Horseshoeing. And, you know, there's all kinds of ideas on horseshoeing and how to be a proper farrier, and probably a million guys running around the country saying that they are one, okay? But there's nothing better than actually getting all the proper instruction. Our goal today, we're going to show you a little bit about the Minnesota School of Horseshoeing, and we're going to find out how it is they approach this and the things that they require that their graduates know, before they come out of here and actually go out and start working on your horse. So I'm happy to be with Richard Dugan, and Richard is the proprietor, shall we say?
I suppose proprietor and instructor of the Minnesota School of Horseshoeing.
So, Richard, tell us, first of all, welcome to the show, and tell us a little bit about the history of the school and how you got this thing going and what your goals are.
Probably like many people in horseshoeing and other horse-related activities, I started with owning a few horses, and then as things went, I was introduced to horseshoeing. And as things went, there was a program that opened up at the local technical college. I took the program without any real intent of shoeing horses, but as things went, it became more intriguing, more interesting, and it finally got a hold of me. And then I quit my other business affairs and determined and decided to be a farrier. And then as things went from there, I had an opportunity to teach horseshoeing, which I thought would be really decent at the kind of the center of new information. And so I moved away from the practical work of horseshoeing. My interests became more academic, and then I started the Minnesota School of Horseshoeing.
Well, and we're sitting in your classroom right now.
Yes, we are. And we have been here since 1976. And the program has, we have gone from a 12-week program to the current 10-week program, which is offered 4 times a year. And this program is a forge-based program, which really is critical and essential to good horseshoeing. And the major emphasis is on balancing horses, which is the primary art of the farrier. Balancing horses is our job.
Well, one of the things that we're going to look at here in a little bit is you're going to actually be at a forge showing us about this, but all the students here have to literally be able to make their own horseshoes from scratch.
The heart of horseshoeing really is based on forging skills. While in practice, the vast majority of horseshoers use factory shoes, or as they're commonly called, keg shoes. But in order to provide the greatest benefit to horses, people have to have these essential forging skills. And so at school, we essentially make everything for the horses to help people develop those skills, which then they can apply in practice with the factory shoes.
I know later on we're going to actually be out at a stable where some of the students are working, and there they are, even at the stable, they are making the horseshoes that they're using.
In school, we use all hand-turned shoes, again, to help people develop the techniques, the forging techniques that are essential in whether it's making these shoes from bar stock or whether it is modifying factory keg shoes. So, yes, in school they will be using all hand-turned shoes.
So I take it this is kind of a labor of love with you.
Horseshoeing is not a passionless occupation. Yes, it is a labor of love. It becomes a lifestyle. Working with a horse, a grand animal to work with. So yes, it is a labor of love.
Well, you know, every person that owns horses, myself included, have always had, you know, issues with farriers from time to time, and have always had a lot of people professing to be able to do it that can't. And I think schools of this caliber are the way you sort through and know that you've got somebody that has got the background to do it properly.
Horseshoeing over the years is slowly moving more and more to a professional level, more and more to an accountable level. There is no question that as horseshoeing continues developing into a recognized profession, we're seeing a better clientele of people, quality of people, and better horseshoeing. No question. It is moving. It is developing.
Well, we're going to move out to the forges, and we're going to watch Richard in action show us how some of this works. So stay with us right here on Speaking of Horses.
Here we are in the forge shop, and I'm going to demonstrate the forging techniques or forging process in making shoes from bar stock. And again, it is these basic forging skills that are a very real part of horseshoeing, whether you are using hand-turned shoes or whether you are modifying factory keg shoes. In any case, the techniques are the same for making shoes from bar stock as well as shaping shoes for keg shoes. So we're bringing up a piece of steel which would make essentially a common-sized horseshoe, and bring it up to a forging temperature and begin to turn the shoe. In the school shop, we're using cold forges, which is really the best forging fire for blacksmithing. In actual practice, the vast majority of horseshoers use cold forges, which are convenient, clean, fast, and when we go out in the field with horses at the stables, we use gas. So people have experience with both coal and gas fire. So we're bringing this steel up to a heat to forge it, making a saddle horseshoe, a plain plate. So these skills aren't just from the standpoint of making skills. We're making these horseshoes so that we can maximize the benefits or the reasons why we're shoeing horses. An important part of horseshoeing. I'm coming up to a heat to start turning the shoe. As horseshoeing continues evolving into more and more of a professional occupation, we're seeing more and more people develop these critical skills in shoeing horses. So, turning the shoe, starting at the toe. Blacksmithing or forging is an essential art of the farrier. The techniques are probably more individualized, art-based than technical. Horseshoes are made largely by eye. There are times, of course, when measurements are useful in determining the placement and distribution of nail holes, but practiced farriers will, for the most part, make the shoes, punch the shoes by eye. And as skills develop, farriers become really amazingly accurate and consistent. The same thing is true with nailing shoes on within that very close margin in shoeing, people shoe horses accurately without sticking the horse, without laning the horse, with considerable consistency. But like everything else, takes practice. So the next step on this horseshoe is to turn the branch. We're up to a forging temperature. Drawing the heel. Turning the branch over the horn. Putting the curve in. Level the shoe. Back into the fire for the other branch. So again, it is these same blacksmithing skills that are used in shaping factory shoes to horses' hooves. And when significant changes are necessary, the forge becomes critical. To do all this cold is just not good practice. It's a common phrase in horseshoeing that cold-fitting shoes, which is probably more common than it should be in horseshoeing, you lose the whole balancing package. And so these skills, shaping the shoe and putting the nail holes where they need to be, horses are shod without compromise to the all-important physiological movements of horses' hooves. So when it comes to the lame horse, hand-turned shoes and properly punched shoes become critical. When the shoe is the primary part of balancing horses, making the shoes is critical. So we're not developing these skills just from the standpoint or just for the sake of making horseshoes and becoming fancy blacksmiths. It has a very specific effect in shoeing horses, in balancing horses, as well again on the physiological movements of horses' hooves. So drawing the heel, turning the branch. So on these heats, it is to shape the rough shape of the horseshoe, and now we'll punch the nail holes in the shoe. First with the headset. And then the pritchel to go through the shoe for the shank of the nail. Level the shoe. Back punching the shoe. And the nail holes have to be precise. so the nail fits tight to help keep the shoe from coming loose. So that's one branch.
Speaking of horses is made possible by Equessentials Horse Care Products. For products developed by a horse person, for horse people, and horse use. Please check out Equessentials Horse Products. They have all the products you need to perfectly care for your horse's coat and physical appearance and well-being. Equessentials. Speaking of horses is made possible through the support and courtesy of Wellhorse. What's in your tack box to heal wounds? Expect wonders with Wellhorse antibacterial resin. Wellhorse speeds the healing process and kills fungal and bacterial microagents on contact. Wellhorse was ranked in the top 10 of all 440 products tested by the Horse Journal exports. To Wellhorse, we thank you for your support of Speaking of Horses. Well, right now I'm with Nancy Dugan and Minnesota School of Horseshoeing. Now, we've talked to Richard, and we've also seen Richard work at the forge and how all of that goes for the students. But another part of the training is in going out in the field. The students have to go to a stable. They have to actually work on horses, and while they're out there, they have to make those horseshoes as well to make sure they're in tune with this. So, Nancy, welcome, and tell us a little bit about what those field days are about for the students.
Well, the students meet out at the various stables with one of the instructors, and in the beginning, first 2 weeks, they just learn how to trim horses, how to balance them correctly, and the positions underneath the horse. And then on the third week, they start actually shoeing horses. And so the first 2 weeks, they are also practicing making horseshoes, and some of them come out not looking like horseshoes, but by the third week, they're looking pretty good. And so they're out there, and Brian or Bernie will do a demonstration, give them the positions to work underneath the horse, safety under the horse, and then they would start shoeing that horse. And one of the hardest things for them to do is to put that first nail in. And from there on, they get wobbly knees, and each day gets better, and that's it.
I can attest to that first nail comment because there have been a time or two. I should not share this story, okay? There has been a time or two when I've been at a parade or something with my horse, and I've got a loose shoe. And probably it's because I was remiss in getting the farrier there when I should have, okay? But I have literally, gone out with a hammer and a couple of horseshoe nails at it and say, okay, I'm going to get one on each side in good and tight, and that'll get me through the parade. And when you take that horseshoe nail and get it lined up and you're thinking, okay, if I do this incorrectly, I'm not riding this parade, all right, because I'm going to injure the horse. Putting that first shoe in to ensure that you're going in correctly, I can attest to that. I've nailed a very few in as a total novice, and it scares you to death.
Yes, it does. And, you can quick that horse, and like you say, if you don't get it in the white line correctly, you're going to have a lame horse. So it's nice that they're able to work on practice horses, and very seldom do they ever quick a horse. It does happen.
Well, it does happen, but being able to look at the hoof, look at the horse, look at the structure, and figure out how much wall you've got to work with, basically on site, right?
Yes. You have that foot in front of you, and you have to shape it, rasp it, and then put the horseshoe on, and you have made that, and have those nail holes correctly punched, and then it should go in where it should go.
But you're looking at the hoof and the angle and the shape you have on the hoof, which tells you about where you better send that nail up and through, correct?
Correct. And then the nails, they do take a slight curve and come out on the hoof, and then they would clinch it down.
Yeah, for me to be safe when I've done it, I actually put a little bend in the nail to ensure that it came out the right way.
Sure, that's a nice trick to do. Maybe we better tell our students that.
No, because I am the novice. I'm just saying that, because I know how it feels to be doing that and be nervous. But I also knew that if I didn't do that, I may not make the parade, and I'd have more problems with a shoe coming off on a street.
Yes, and it's interesting that on horseshoe nails, most people don't know it, but there is a right and wrong side to put that nail in the shoe, so it comes in out of the hoof right too.
There is?
Yes.
Well, I just learned something. I didn't know that. I just thought if I bent it the way I wanted it. Anyway, Nancy, so the students go out and they spend this time in the field, and the field time is after they've spent classroom time, right?
Correct. They would have Monday and Tuesday here learning whatever the lectures are about balancing or lamenesses or corrections, confirmation, and then they would go out.
So the students that we're going to see here in a moment now, where are they at in their process?
They are in their 5th week, so they should be pretty good at the forge, and they will be shoeing, and should be doing pretty well.
Well, good. And it's a 10-week program total.
Yes, 10 weeks, and then there's an optional apprenticeship program.
So at the end of the 10 weeks, they get their diplomas from the Minnesota School of Horseshoeing, and they're ready to go, right?
Right, and they can go out and start making money the first week.
Well, this group of students is at UW River Falls, not very far across from Minneapolis. They're just on the Wisconsin side. So we're going to go over there right now, and we're going to take a look at some of these, shall we say, a little more advanced students in action.
Yes, and that'll be a lot of fun.
So keep watching. We're going to show you these students coming up next. Well, now we're out at University of Wisconsin River Falls, or UW River Falls, and the horses are lined up here, and some of the trimming is done, and the students are getting ready to forge and prepare horseshoes, part of their schooling. So we're going to catch some shots of our students in action. And as you can tell here, the students, not only do they have their anvils, and we have the forge going in the background right here in the facility, along with the mascot dog, but they have a full horse skeleton, and they have samples of the hoof and the bones, and they are actually having to make and size the shoes to the horses that they're working on. So as we said in our talk with Nancy, that after they've had the classroom instruction, they move to a stable somewhere. This one happens to be UW River Falls in River Falls, Wisconsin, really just a few miles out of Minneapolis on the Wisconsin side, where the students get all their actual on-job training here, working on horses at the university complex. So it's all a wonderful program, and presents them with all the problems of very calm horses, unruly horses, and various feet, various problems that they have to learn to address in the farrier school here at the Minnesota School of Horseshoeing. Right here at this particular forge and apparatus, you can see that some of the students are actually having to work on their own tools and repair and keep them. As you can see, cleanliness is a part of it. You're taught to keep everything clean and accessible. And they do have the portable gas forge here, so they get just as much heat as they need, but they are forging the steel now as they prepare and bend and manufacture the horseshoes. It's during the school, no pre-made horseshoes are used. They forge and prepare all of them so that, as in the interviews you've heard, we're very capable then as farriers of preparing the actual pre-made shoes, making them fit horses, and having to get those in a forge or make those adjustments is not an issue, because they started out by having to actually manufacture their horseshoes. Now our students are actually forging some of the shoes into shape and getting prepared to apply them. A real key part of this whole school is learning to actually make and prepare their own horseshoes. And of course, the sights and sounds of hammers and anvils is all a part of it, and kind of takes you back to those older days. Preparation, the trimming is a very important part of it to get the horse balanced before they actually size the shoe. So we're into the trimming part, and then the shoes will be done and then fitted to the horses and completely adjusted from scratch. All part of the intensive program at the Minnesota School of Horseshoeing. And this gives us a chance to see the students as they discuss the progress of the work and where they're at, all part of very intensive training at the Minnesota School of Horseshoeing. So we want to thank them for letting us be a part of this schooling and program and how well it works, because getting farriers who are well trained and schooled in all of the methods of working with horses is becoming more and more critical. So schools like the Minnesota School of Horseshoeing are very important to the advancement of balancing a horse up. And we really thank everybody at the school for allowing us to do this program here on Speaking of Horses. Speaking of Horses is made possible through the support and courtesy of Phototonic Health. If you love your horses and pets, Phototonic Health has the AccuLight system to help with a safe, speedy recovery from injury. Low-cost, effective red light therapy. Check it out at Phototonic Health. And thank you for your support of Speaking of Horses.